Hey everybody, if you've been hanging out with me, you probably know that I'm a big fan of the Strymon Iridium. I've even gotten to the point where I've purchased two, and I have a third one on the shelf on the other side of the studio, and I often have wondered what is it about the Iridium that keeps me coming back to it. I mean, my amp modeling journey now has been going on for well over 20 years. I got started back in the early 2000s with this bad boy, the Yamaha DG Stomp amp modeler, and I bought its older cousin, the rack mount DG 1000. I got into the Magic Stomp amp modeling, all that good stuff, and they were fine. But there was something missing, so I think my next major stop was the Avid 11 rack, and that really did open my eyes to achieving an amp modeling tone that it was at least somewhat realistic. So I spent many years with the Avid 11 rack, and that led me then to headrush technology. I purchased the original headrush pedal board because its tech stack is based on the old 11 rack. And then later I purchased the MX5, and they were cool, but there was something about them that didn't stick. And somewhere in this period, in the headrush period, was when I bought my first Strymon Iridium. And I just remember thinking, whoa, this thing rocks. I really like this amp modeler. And since then, I've continued to experiment with different amp modelers. For example, heavy. I got into some of the Helix tech. So I have the LT, and I actually have the Line 6 Pod Go, which sounds pretty close to the LT in terms of the amp models. And these are nice. I've gotten a lot of great sounds out of these. I actually use this a good bit when I travel because it's an all-in-one unit. But still, when I'm at home, I keep coming back to the Iridium. I also recently got the Universal Audio Enigmatic, and I'm still working with this, but there's something about the Iridium that keeps drawing me back. I don't know if there's like an inside voice that says, Bill, come back. And, I most recently kind of realized the draw last weekend. So I've been under the weather, couldn't do much. So I thought, I'm going to get out my Fractal FM9 and just fool around with it. I have not had it plugged in for many months, probably 6-7 months. So I thought, let me see if I can do something new with it that I haven't done before. So I plugged it in and started playing around with it. And man, I got a slammin' Fender Deluxe reverb tone out of this thing and combined it with some beautiful sounding delays and reverbs. And it was glorious for a while. But I ended up at the end of that session thinking, I feel disconnected from this unit. I don't feel like I'm one with the amp modeler. So I then went back and plugged in the Strymon Iridium, and that feeling of solidity, that feeling of unity, union with oneness with this device came back to me. And, that really started making me think, what is going on? Why do I feel disconnected with an extremely expensive Fractal FM9 that is one of the top-end amp modelers? And I then saw a video that really changed everything for me. It's a video that Leo Gibson did on his channel. He's got a guitar-based channel. I will put a link to this video in the description below. And he answered my questions. It's all about latency. So what he did was he took 23 different amp modelers and came up with a methodology to measure the latency of each of the amp modelers. And then he went through them from longest latency to shortest latency. The devices with the longest latency were somewhere in the area of 10 milliseconds. That's pretty dang long, I think. And even the fractal gear, I think he tested an FM3, not an FM9, but the FM3 was in the 3 millisecond range. The Line 6 gear, there we go, I believe was somewhere in the 2 millisecond range. And then my beloved Strymon Iridium was 1.1 milliseconds. And that's when I realized what it is, what it has been, why I connect with this pedal so much. It's the low latency. When I plug this bad boy into my pedal board, run it through some delays and reverbs, I get instantaneous response. I'm not saying this is the best sounding of all the amp modelers, although I do really love the Fender Deluxe Reverb model in this pedal, but I do love the feel of it. I'm not saying that I can adjust it like I can the Fractal Fender Deluxe Reverb amp model. I can't adjust sag. I can't swap out tubes. I don't have precise control over all sorts of EQ factors in the model. But this thing just feels really good. And isn't that interesting? I want something that sounds good, but I also want something that feels good because it inspires me to play. If I'm feeling disconnected from a device, let's pick up this one. This old device, it's got a lot of latency and I feel pretty disconnected when I play it. And that disconnectedness prevents me from playing my best. At least I feel like it prevents me from playing my best. So I don't have a whole lot more to say about latency, but I'm interested to know what you all think. Have you run into this issue? If you're into amp modeling like me, if you have, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Are there devices that speak to you? And I don't really care about the measured latency. This is not, and to my mind, it's not a contest. Because we all have different preferences, right? But I am wondering, though, if latency comes into play as to how well you connect with a particular amp modeling device. Anyhow, that's it. I will see all of you on the next video.